What else? Question-wise, anybody?
On Canvas, you didn't post the recording for the 4th, and it doesn't show anything for week 8 for this week.
The 8th of the week, I can check on. The 4th, I've noticed that they never sent me the processed recording, the cloud recording. I don't have one. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now let's see. We're late in the semester, so I can probably match it up with what I did last semester, and I can put that recording in. It should have the same information. Okay, so that was the 4th to look up. The 8th, I don't understand.
Week 8, because this is week 8. There's no modules. There's nothing posted for this week. It only shows last week and prior. There's no lecture material or anything for this week.
It'll be there momentarily. All I have to do is push a little button. Okay, so when we go to the share screen, I'll do that, and you'll have it. Okay,
Okay.
so don't worry about week 8. I usually put it up early, but I've been doing some thinking, soul searching in my mind about a few things. One thing, and I'll put this into an email for the few people that aren't here yet or may not be coming. I have a bonus quiz on. Was supposed to be supposed to be today. Okay, we're going to be after we finish lab. Okay, and you were to identify 10 muscles, and for each 2, you'd get 1 point. That sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. I did that intentionally so that you would begin studying, at least, maybe continue studying over the weekend, and not just leave everything to next weekend, which is human nature, you know. Well, I'm not going to give that quiz today. I'm going to give it Thursday. And the reason being is this. I put the quizzes together to help the entire class. I want them to know what the questions are going to look like. And, you know, you could recite this for yourself, okay? I want to try to have people be prepared. On the week 7 quiz on the digestive system and the respiratory system, 17 people did not take the quiz. But they're going to be willing to take the bonus quiz. That doesn't make sense to me. They're hurting themselves, and I just won't allow it to happen. So the bonus quiz will count on Thursday. It'll be set up the same way. Okay. And I will not count it for anybody who has not done Module 7 practice quiz on digestive and respiratory system. And I'm going to be that way, unfortunately, for the rest of the semester. Practice quizzes are required. Okay. It doesn't matter, you do them early, you do them late, you do them well, you didn't do well on them. That's not the idea. The practice quiz tells you how you're doing, whether you need to ramp up your studying, rearrange your time, or you're doing fine. Okay?
Got it.
Okay, I heard I got it. The 2 people who were talking over each other, but that happens. Okay, so there'll be an opportunity for the 5 points on Thursday, which also means you'll have a little bit more time to study if you hadn't. It's not a difficult quiz. It's not a difficult quiz at all, but it does show you something about what the practicum will look like. Images and pointers, and then name the muscle or name the action of the muscle. or the insertion or the origin. Okay. What do you think about the placement of the practicum 2? And that is set for next Tuesday.
I'm not really ready, but
Okay. Is that you, Maria?
yes.
Anybody else have an opinion or a thought?
I'm not ready either. I've been studying, but it's a lot of information.
It is. Okay, then
I
I'm
think
going to
the
do one.
handout is what's like freaking me out, I guess.
Well, the handout, first off, you got to know the name of the muscle. If you can't identify the muscle, you can't do anything. And then get the action. Okay. And then practice the action on yourself. It doesn't take long. And then when you have the test, you can do the same thing. And you should be able to identify most of the origins and insertions. Primarily, the questions are first and foremost, name the muscle. Then the next most frequent question is name the action of the muscle. The next most frequent question is name the origin of the muscle. And the least frequent question is name the insertion. I don't know why it has to be that way. That's just the way it fell out. Okay. Anybody else not ready? Or well, not ready today, of course, but feeling they may not be ready next week. Well, I get to thinking about these things, and I was thinking about it all weekend, and woke up today definitely thinking of it. I am in business here, and you're in business to learn this material at least well enough to take it to the next class and continue your education. This is just a foundation. This is a vocabulary class too. Uh, we know that, but the idea is to get it across. And time is one of the factors that makes it difficult to do if you don't have enough of it. We had a damn holiday, the one that they call the faculty contractual day. That's a giveaway day. That's a wasted day we had. So I figure we're a day behind. So unilaterally, I am changing the test date from next Tuesday, not much, to next Thursday. Not this Thursday. This Thursday would be the 11th, and add 7 to that, the 18th. Okay? If
That's
anybody,
helpful. Thank you.
Charlie, I
any-
have a
Thank
quick
you.
question.
Thank you.
okay, if anybody has a serious problem with that, please let's don't discuss it here. Let's do it by email. And okay, so
Charlie, I have a quick question.
yes,
Do you have like an updated syllabus that has like all the dates on it that we're going to be doing everything else for the rest of the semester? Because the syllabus I have is the one that you sent to us via email, and it doesn't give me like the exam dates or anything like that.
I believe it does give the exam dates. You know, what it doesn't do is lock me in to wanting to lecture this topic on this date. You know, uh, uh, let's see here. Well, I'm trying to see how I can look at that myself right now without losing you all. I'm not sharing the screen right now, so don't worry about that. Tegan, what exam date in particular are you thinking of, or do you have one?
Well, I'm not thinking of anything. I just want like an updated syllabus that will tell me like in the future when the next exam is and everything, instead of just finding out over the Zoom, if that makes sense.
Did you not want to change the date?
Oh, no, I'm fine with changing the date. I don't mind when it is. I was just wondering if you had an updated syllabus. That's
You know,
all.
I don't have an updated syllabus because the dates that I put there are the dates that I had intended, and I still intend. But I changed this one, and O was away. In other words, not closer. Uh, I changed this one because I don't think the class as a whole is going to be ready, and I want to have them, you, them, everyone get the best grade they can. Okay, that, I'm not in business here to uh, ram stuff down people's throats and make them anxious. Okay, I'll take a look at the. I was going to look at the syllabus, and let me take a look.
It's there. Lab and lecture are separated. It says dates for lecture topics and then dates for laboratory topics, but it
Yes,
shows
yes,
the
it does.
exams. It's listed.
I see them too.
Yeah, they're listed there.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong thing then. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I for the first time separated them into lecture topics and lab topics because Canvas isn't wide enough to do it the way I would do on the website. But if you look under practicum topics, for instance, you'd see the dates. And I think you'd see the date of 3/16 for the second practicum. And now, we changed it to 3/18. I can change that now. I mean, but everybody should have it. They'll have it also in an email from me. Okay. Okay. If the I'm going to say if there's no more questions, but I think I had something I wanted to say. Take a second here to see if I can think it up. When it comes to me, I'll say it then. Okay, let's share the screen. Okay, here's what you're not seeing, and now you should see it. You see week 8 now? Okay, I'm not getting anything from anybody, so let me
I
ask
can
again.
see week 8 on my screen. Or
You can see week 8.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just refreshed. It's there.
Yes, you may have to, I was going to say you may have to refresh it. Okay. Uh, Okay, I left it off. I had it turned off because I'm still waiting for 17 people to give me week 7 practice quiz. Uh, this isn't graded. I don't judge you by your performance on the practice quiz, only that you tried the practice quiz. Your performance is graded on the practicums and the lecture exams, not the practice quizzes. But if you don't try the practice quiz, I don't think you can steer yourself in the right direction as easily. So if I were to look at that one, for instance, statistics, these quizzes can be taken as many times as you wish. Okay, one person did it since this morning. So 15 people have done it and 16 people have not. They don't hurt. There's a discussion topic for you this week. It's to construct a multiple choice question that might be suitable for practicum 2. Okay. I think I'll insert a couple that were done last semester. Some mediocre, some great on the other hand. I look at your outlines and some of you are very imaginative the way you put them together. They're absolutely beautiful. The week 8 assignment, I don't know that I filled it in. Yes, I did. I want you to continue with chapter 19. Okay. So if you have read it, you've got this one done. If you haven't finished it yet, well, you got time to do it. That's the chapter on the heart. I have circulatory system down where I would like to be. I feel a little tiny bit behind too, because I don't want to buck the trend that we've been doing, and that is looking at the muscles. So I'm going to move down the list and go to the human muscle, even though it's lab. Okay, it's all going to be during week 8.
Charlie, did you tell us what the outline for chapter 19? I think I might have missed that.
No, I didn't. I wanted the entire chapter.
Okay.
Sorry. You didn't miss it. It was, I didn't say it. I wanted the entire chapter on that one.
Okay, thank you.
This is taking a little while when you first load up a file. You can spin around for a bit. Here it comes. No. Okay, I backtracked to this chart. You should have that marked, and I need to pop it out. It's still in module 7. Okay. I'll get rid of that because we haven't really finished it. That's why you feel behind too. We were down to the extensor digitorum longus And the tibialis anterior on the front of the leg, lower leg. Okay. We got to internal and external intercostals, and they always bear reviewing. These are the internal intercostals here, which are between the ribs. Now the ribs are this, to me, baby blue color. Okay. And the internal intercostals are here. They force the ribs downward and together, the internal intercostals do, when you're breathing out. They don't always function. Right now, they're probably not doing much in you because gravity brings the ribs back down. But when we're running, walking, or doing anything aerobic, then we need to breathe faster, and the internal intercostals help expel the air so more air can come in. Therefore, forced exhalation. This number 55 out here is an external intercostal. Here they are running on the side. The external intercostals raise the ribs for inhalation. Okay, jumping around a little bit. We're on the palm side of the hand. And number 56 runs as a band of connective tissue around. It has a different name on the other side. This is the flexor. This is the flexor side. Flexor retinaculatum. Flexor retinaculatum. The tendons of the flexor muscles are guided through this so that they don't rub against each other. Unfortunately, they can rub against the flexor retinaculatum itself and cause some swelling or damage on this side and carpal tunnel syndrome on the other side. The other side is the extensor retinaculatum. I don't know how I did this a while back. It's here, but look, it's down at the bottom. Don't know how I separated them. Probably I left one out, and then by realizing I left it out, I put it at the bottom. Here's the extensor retinaculatum, the other half of this connective tissue bracelet. And here we have the tendons of the extensor muscles running through. Now I'll go back up and we're going to do some head muscles. Starting with number 57, the orbicularis oris. The orbicularis oris is the muscle that surrounds the mouth. So if you're going to pucker, for instance, this would be the muscle to do it. Orbicularis meaning going around, oris meaning mouth. The orbicularis oculi goes around the eye. And it's number 58. It's the winking muscle. Yes, that's what they call it. Doesn't sound very scientific, but it's the winking muscle.
Charlie,
Yes,
are you recording?
yes, I thought it was.
Yeah, he's recording.
Yeah. Yeah, I started it and then I checked. And I started it a little early, so I don't know when you came in, but it's there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I still got to look up the 4th and the 8th. No, I'll figure out the other date. 4th is more important. That's been bothering me for a week. They didn't send it to me. That's all I can tell you. Have you guys made YouTube videos? Some of you. So when I finish record, go ahead.
No, I don't.
Okay. When I finish here, okay, and click the recorder off, or just end the session, that does the same thing. I usually have to wait 2-3 hours, and then in my email sent to school, but then forwarded to me, they send me the recording in 4 parts usually, one for audio and one for video, and I don't know what the other ones are, but I always take the one that has the greatest number of megabytes, the biggest file, 'cause that's the one that works. And then I have to load it up to my computer. Then I have to go to YouTube, and then I have to select it in YouTube, and then I have to upload the file in YouTube, and wait about 2 more hours while YouTube processes it, and then it gives me 3 pictures to choose from that it snatches out of the video. And sometimes they're all pictures of me, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Sometimes it's all pictures of some of you, and I like it, but I usually have to get a hold of you and say, "Is it okay that I use your likeness?" And so far everybody's been fine with that. And then I have to link it to our Canvas page. So it takes it takes longer than giving the recording. Okay, back to this. 58 was the orbicularis oculi. We don't have to switch. Here's 59. Muscle number 59. This is going to throw you. Frontalis. The frontalis. It's also called the epicranium. It's a muscle here, connective tissue here, and on the back of the head, there's a small piece of muscle that all together is the epicranium. But this forward portion is much easier to remember as frontalis. You do need to know the function. Well, who wouldn't? It's to raise the eyebrows. Is that an important function? Facial expression is very important in nature. Saw a show yesterday where horses have 17 different facial expressions. Dogs have 16. Chimpanzees only have 13. And they get quite a few messages across. Okay, the frontalis raises the eyebrows. Okay. Don't see 60 on the side, so did I do that? Okay, 60 above the ear is the temporalis. Temporalis. Let's figure out who knows more about this than me, which is just about anybody. I have seen it where a student was able to draw on the image I was using. This mark here, this cross here, this piece here, this here. Am I doing it, or do you think, I don't care who it is, it's not intentional. Anybody know how we're drawing? Okay, well, if you find yourself accidentally drawing a little bit, stop it, okay? And otherwise, pretty soon we're just going to have a spider's web over here. Okay, 60. Now, since 61, 60 is the temporalis. Temporalis, that will cause your ears to wiggle. Most of us can't do that. 61, from the zygomatic bone to the corner of the mouth, it's the zygomaticus. There's actually two zygomaticus. The zygomaticus major, which is this one, and the zygomaticus minor, which is this one. We'll just call it the zygomaticus. The zygomaticus is the muscle for smiling. It draws the corner of the lips outward or laterally and upward. The buccinator is located underneath the masseter. The masseter has been removed in this model. And this rounded muscle underneath it is the buccinator, which helps in chewing and also in blowing, if you were, for instance, blowing out candles on the cake. The buccinator. 63 is here. It has various combinations of names. Erector, labii. What one did I give it? Levator, labii, superioris. This one lifts up the corners of the mouth straight up. It's this muscle and this muscle. The levator, like to levitate, to bring up. If you were smelling something like ammonia, you might lift up your upper lip almost to close your nose if possible. We also call that a sneer. That's what this muscle's for. Okay, those are the muscles of the head that you're responsible for, but you're not responsible for much. You don't have to give me their origin. You don't have to give me their insertion, just the basic function or action. Now we're going to do the muscles of the eyeball. Have to get our orientation here. Obviously, we see the eyeball and the whites of the eye. There's a muscle on the top, a muscle laterally. This is we're standing laterally. We can't see the muscle that's medial, but we can see a muscle underneath. It's not this one. That is at the southern end. Almost look at this like north, south, east is not visible, and west. Okay. There are more images and they will show those other muscles. 64 is where we're starting. This is the superior rectus. Superior because it's on the top, rectus because it's straight. Straight to where? It's been cut here, straight back to here. If you were to contract that muscle and only that muscle, what would happen to the eye?
Would you look up?
Yes. You just look up. It's as simple as that. Now I'm going to skip to 66 because it's here. The muscle is straight again. Comes to here. If you were only to contract that one, which way would the eye look?
Would it be right?
Would it be what?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yes, it'd be right, but the better description is lateral.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Because we're standing laterally. Okay. And here's one. This is the one that runs from the bottom. Okay. And it goes all the way back. Well, this was the lateral rectus, by the way. Superior rectus, lateral rectus. And this is going to be the inferior rectus. If you were only to contract that muscle, you would look downward. Okay, you would pull the eye here and pull it down. On the other side, and we can see it actually, we don't see its attachment. This is the medial rectus. The medial rectus, if it only were contracted, you would look inward. If you were able to contract both medial rectus muscles in the two eyes at the same time, you would be cross-eyed. So nothing's going to be hard about these. Superior rectus, lateral rectus, inferior rectus, and medial rectus. This number 69, though, is a little bit tricky. It comes from roughly the same area. Okay, comes in through the superior orbital fissure of the eye or of the socket. Here's the muscle coming up, and then it enters into this tendon sheath, and it turns 90 degrees, and here's where it attaches. When that muscle contracts, number 69, this is the superior oblique muscle. It pulls this way. Okay. And when it does that pulling, okay, it's going to rotate the eye inward and downward. Even though we call this the superior oblique because of its position, it brings the eye down, and it also pulls the eye, pulls the eye. By pulling it this way, you can rotate the front this way. By pulling back here, it can swing the front of the eye outward. So the function of the superior oblique is first off to abduct the eye. Abduct means really to make it go laterally, as was said a moment ago. It abducts the eye and depresses the eye. If you don't want to use the word depresses, you can say and makes the eye look down. I don't mind common terms here. We'll come back to this one in just a second. We've got to do this one muscle down here. Oh, and do look and see where this muscle that we haven't named yet attaches. We're now in the front. That muscle was back here, underneath. Here it is. Here it is. This is the inferior oblique. The inferior oblique reaches under the eye, and when it contracts, it'll pull the eye laterally again. And depending upon the position your eye is in when the contraction occurs, it can also elevate the eye. Okay. There's not going to be any trouble with the rectus muscles. Okay. Superior rectus. Here's the medial rectus now. Okay. We saw lateral and inferior rectus. With the oblique muscles, the superior one lowers the eye and abducts the eye. The inferior oblique also abducts the eye. Both of them turn the eye outward. And the inferior oblique elevates the eye. Inferior elevates, superior lowers or depresses the eye. Just the opposite that what you might want it to be, but that's the way it is. This muscle here, there's two parts to it. Actually, there's three parts to it. I shouldn't hide the third one from you. Goes out to the thumb. This is the extensor pollicis. Each part does have its name, but as a group, we call this just one muscle, extensor pollicis. Okay. It's going through the retinaculatum on the lateral side. This is the hitchhiker's muscle. When you raise your thumb to hitchhike. Hitchhiking used to be very common when I was a kid. Nowadays, you don't see much of it.
Charlie,
Okay.
on that picture you just showed, it said number 54, but on the list it says 54 is internal intercostals.
Oh, yeah, there's where okay. Fortunately, I mean, it's something I can fix. I think the best way for me to fix that is to change the picture, leave the number the same. Okay, I don't want to. So I've got it down here for me to work on. and also on the 4th recording and see if I can find it anywhere. If we did that record. Thursday or before. Thank you. These two items, human muscle models and cat muscle slides, and labeled human models. The labeled ones, it says new because I found better images for some of the same things, but they're worth looking at. I'll show you. It's nothing that we need to go through again. Okay. This is the forearm, which is easy, unfortunately, in face-to-face. But when we're doing it online, it's a toughie. So I put together some better pictures. And then here's the leg. And that's all that you find there. If you get the structures down and contain them, or actually, if you get the structures down and can pick out their name from a list of multiple choice, and you get the actions as well, you'll have over 75% of the test in the bag, and the rest will need to come. Oh, I do have to remove that one. This is your extra credit quiz. I was prepared to give it to you today, but now I've taken it off, and it'll be on Thursday. Okay. I don't want us to live for extra credit only, so that's why another reason I want you to please do the practice quiz on the urinary and respiratory systems. It's only 15 questions long, and you do get to take any quiz as many times as you want until you feel comfortable with it. Okay. We're going to start the circulatory system. I'll go part way into it before I give you a break. Okay. Functions of the circulatory system: distribute oxygen and deliver carbon dioxide to the lungs for removal. Well, we were born knowing that. Okay. 2, to distribute nutrients to the body. So you pick up nutrients from the small intestine and take them everywhere else. Hormones are distributed by means of the circulatory system. It's the only way that they move. To regulate body temperature, that isn't as important for us as it is for some animals. But to regulate body temperature, and we're talking about moving the circulation either towards the superficial area of the body or taking the circulation deeper into the body. To clot, okay, and to fight infection. The components: the heart. Nothing is said here because we've got lots on the heart coming up. the arteries. Arteries are vessels that carry blood away from the heart and towards capillaries. Now, capillaries are where the blood components will exchange with the tissues. Arteries always move away from the heart. It does not matter if they're carrying oxygenated blood or deoxygenated blood. That has absolutely nothing to do with the designation of artery. And I can say it as loud as I want, many times as I want, and somebody unfortunately will still not get it. Okay, when something is moving away, okay, like a big truck is leaving the city being the heart, okay, and as the truck goes down the highway, moving away from the city, it's on an artery. And it doesn't matter if the truck is loaded or if the truck is unladen. Two basic types of arteries, the muscular and the elastic arteries. The elastic is shown here, muscular, and then a smaller artery. Okay. The muscular artery has three layers. So we'll use this one in the center. The innermost layer of a transversely cut artery is the tunica intima. Here's the label over here. This is the tunica intima. It's thin. The blood's flowing in the lumen here. Behind the tunica intima is the tunica media. The tunica media is smooth muscle. It pulses. It helps to move the blood forward, away from the heart, and towards capillaries. The tunica media. Where does the tunica media get its nutrients from? It absorbs them across the wall of the tunica intima. So it takes its cut as we go along. The final layer, the outermost covering, is the tunica externa. Over here, an elastic artery is usually found near the heart. This is a thicker walled artery. This is the aorta. This is the pulmonary trunk. It's going to be up there in the mediastinum, their chest area. When the heart pumps blood out of its left ventricle, that's the final ventricle, it pumps it into the aorta, and the aorta balloons. The blood is under pressure then, and the aorta would like to regain its shape. In other words, you blow up a balloon, it's like blowing up the aorta. Then if you release the hold on the end of the balloon, the air comes out and the whole thing collapses again, waiting for the next time. Okay. Well, here's the tunica intima again. And let's skip to the outside. We have the tunica externa. But the tunica media is bigger, thicker, so that it can push the blood along for a greater distance, speed it away from the heart. The tunica media is so thick that it cannot get its nutrients by taking them from the lumen across the tunica intima and just absorbing them. It has its own circulatory system, shown in blue here. You see these little blue spots. This is a little circulatory system inside the tunica media. The blood here, coming from the heart, goes in here, gives us up its nutrients, and the blood makes its way back into the lumen. The name for this internalized circulatory system of the tunica media, what I was showing you in blue, okay, is the vasa vasorum. Don't confuse it with the vasa recta of the kidney. This is the vasa vasorum. It's only found in elastic arteries. I'm not going to be talking about the small artery. It's nothing but a smaller version of the muscular artery. What kind of muscle makes up the muscular artery? Cardiac, smooth, or skeletal? You got to know that's the kind of question I'll ask.
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Sure, thank you. What kind of muscle makes up the wall of the muscular artery?
Smooth muscle.
Yes, smooth muscle. What kind muscle makes up the wall of the elastic artery? This may be a guess, that's okay.
Cardiac.
No, the cardiac is restricted to the heart. So it leaves smooth muscle. Okay, I thought that would be the answer I got because it is so thick and so close to the heart. But no, it's smooth muscle. Smooth muscle. Okay, now we mentioned arteries. We passed by the heart because we're saving it for later. We talked about arteries moving away from the heart. Then an arteriole. These are smaller arteries located inside of organs, and they take blood to the capillaries. Once an artery dies inside an organ, it becomes an arteriole. Unfortunately, the books are never consistent. The authors are never consistent. Sometimes they'll call them arteries, and you just have to accept that. But there's the word arteriole, and I do want you to know what it means. Okay, it's a arterial vessel located inside of an organ. Capillaries. These are the smallest of the vessels. They're going to be located inside of an organ, sometimes just beside an organ, as in the lungs. The capillaries are the site of gas and nutrient exchange, and they are so thin, they only have a tunica intima. They don't have a tunica externa. They don't have muscle. They don't have a tunica media. Blood is pressed across them just by pressure alone. Once the blood has crossed capillaries and exchanged its gases and picked up its hormones, and now it's going to go back to the heart. Okay. It first collects within the organ in small, and I got to have this in quotes, veins. Well, they're not truly veins, they're venules. Okay, it's just like we had arterioles coming to the capillaries, we're going to have venules going away. Venules, once they exit the organ, sometimes they coalesce, they group together, and they form the veins. Veins carry blood from the capillaries towards the heart, and it makes no difference if they're oxygenated, uh, carrying oxygenated blood or deoxygenated blood. Veins have valves in them. Can you imagine going through a tunnel and you come to a door and the door lets you go through, but it clamps shut and you can't get back out? So the only way you can go is to continue on through more doors. And every door you pass locks you further and further away from where you started. That's what happens in veins. Blood is returning to the heart, passes a set of valves, and cannot get back. It would stay there indefinitely if it weren't for more blood coming in. So it's pushed forward. And every time it's ratcheted forward, it passes valves and makes progress. Progress what? Going back to the heart. In order to get this motion, when you're so far away from the heart to begin with, the heart, the artery, the arteriole, the capillary, the venule, finally you're in the vein and the pressure is reduced. You need more pressure to push that blood through. Well, veins run next to, alongside of, parallel with arteries. Veins and arteries are side by side usually. Not always, but usually they're side by side. And when the artery pulses, as we said it does with its uh, uh, smooth muscle, its tunica media, when the artery pulses, it bulges and then it retracts, bulges, retracts. And each time it bulges into the side of a vein and forces the blood into there to move forward because it puts pressure on it. The movement of blood through the arteries causes the motion of the blood through the veins. Okay, we have a short bit here and then we have some other material when we come back. If you have any further thoughts of me moving the exam, okay, let me know. When we come back, we'll discuss that and moving the bonus quiz. Moving the bonus quiz should really be a nothing matter because you're going to get your points no matter what. Okay, I cannot see the clock. Here it is. It's 3:09. Let's come back at let's come back at 3:20. Okay.
Hello.
They're all there.
Hi, Charlie.
Anybody dream up a question? Okay. I was just looking over your names, which I pretty well got. Some of you I have seen, some of you I'm sure I've never seen. So I've got my own mental picture of what you must look like. You might want to improve on it by letting me see you sometime. Jessica,
Hi,
you
hi,
there?
yeah, I'm there.
Huh?
Hi, yeah, sorry, Charlie.
Okay. Oh, I see it. Okay. Yeah. I looked at that name and I saw, well, I've always seen it from the start. Yamas, you know. I've only had two other people named Yamas in 40 years of being at Saddleback. Ernie and Eddie Yamas. They were brothers. And I'm sure no relationship to you, all right?
Not that I know of. I do have a grandpa also named Eddie, but I don't think he doesn't have a brother named Ernie though.
Eddie? No, there was an Ernie. Ernie's the one I remember most. He was a big guy, just a huge guy. He was in my class in plant identification, where he had to learn Latin, you know. And he always said English isn't his first language. I said, well, Latin isn't anybody's first language. So that didn't go very far. And this was, oh, I can't remember what year, but the courses at Saddleback were held at the lower campus. And the class uh, that year, uh, all classes at Saddleback College, and I really honestly don't remember the year itself, it had to be like 76 or 77. We could not give the grade of F, no matter how bad or badly the student did or didn't even try. We could not give an F in the state of California. We had to give them a D. Okay. I protested against that. I thought, come on, you get what you get. And if you don't try, then probably going to get an F. But no, it was not acceptable. It wasn't even on the grade collection sheet. Well, the class should have known that from the first day in the syllabus and everything. But I left the class. This was a night class. I left, and I was just about the only person on the campus down there because it was late class. And I went out, going towards the parking lot where there's a little bit of light in the background. And here comes this big, giant figure of a person. And I get a little bit nervous, I thought, you know, and yeah, it was Ernie. It was Ernie Yamas. And well, what does he want? He never stays, you know, 20 minutes in the class. And now he's here at the very end. And he came up to me and said, here, this is for you. And I said, what do you mean this is for me? It's a gift. I'm giving this to you. And it was a bottle of Jose Cuervo tequila. And that's not supposed to be anywhere on campus. And I said, what for? What are you giving me that for? He said, I need to have a D. I can't have an F. And it was like, doesn't he realize I can't give him an F anyway? So I took it. and I remember him. We went out driving once in his car, and he started in the back road, Camino Capistrano, doing donuts. Oh, I wasn't ready for that one. Okay, so if you never show me your picture, even for a few seconds, I will not. I'll just have my own mental image. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Hi, Charlie. Sorry,
Hi.
I didn't have makeup on. That's why I didn't want to put my camera on today. But
I don't have makeup on either.
I'm eating. I don't know if you want to see me eating. It's not pretty.
Yeah, it's sort of nice that we don't have to rush to get to school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be at school. Much rather. Okay, let's go back to this. Oh, don't make me go through the whole thing again, please. Are you able to see the cursor?
No.
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 Nope.
Nope. Okay. You're not able to see the message there. Okay. Okay. You don't see anything special, right? You'll just have to do it the other way. I got to thinking, what would happen if the this is crazy. If the power went out at my house, you'd wonder where I went. Okay.
Charlie,
Yes,
I have a personal question. You don't have to answer. Did you ever get your vaccine?
I got them both.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I got them both, and I've already sat through the 2-week waiting period too. So I'm done. You know, but I find, oh God, uh, I don't hate people or anything, but I don't have the urge that I thought I'd have to get out and with people. It's just something's changed.
Well,
I'd rather do it at school. In fact, school was my only social life. Period. Uh, okay, can you see week 8?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got it. Okay. One thing I'll back up and show you. I got the recording for 3-4 during the break. Okay, found it. We were on the last portion of this. Okay, these are components of the blood system. And one group of components are called the formed elements. Formed elements. Well, you got to imagine something that is formed has form. So these are solids. They're non-fluid elements of the blood. And the first one is the red blood cell. Okay. Red blood cells, the main things that I want you to be sure that you can take with you to the next class. They're biconcave. They're sort of like a Surt's tablet with no hole in the center, concave on both sides. They have no nucleus. They're non-nucleate. They have a lifespan or expectancy of about 120 days. And when that 120 days is up, somehow or other, the body knows to filter out those old cells and destroy them primarily in the liver and in the spleen. These are all replenished by the bone marrow constantly. We lose about 3 million red blood cells a second. And that means we have to gain another 3 million blood cells a second, or we become anemic. So there's at least 6 million things going on in your body that you can't even feel. It doesn't keep you awake at night. The size is about 7 micrometers. There's a little symbol called mu. It looks like a letter U with a long tail at the front. For a long time, we used that. Then it was the norm not to use it. Now it's back. So if you happen to see this abbreviated mu, and I don't have one here to show you, it looks like the letter U, but it starts with a long tail, and then you have a U. That means micrometer. We also have white blood cells floating around in the fluid portion of the blood. These are called leukocytes. 5 major classes of white blood cells, and they're grouped into 2 groups, the granulocytes and agranulocytes. The granulocytes have visible granules, usually called histones, in their cytoplasm. What I mean by this is you're looking through a microscope at a slide, a blood smear. You find the white blood cells, which invariably it seems stain with the blue nucleus. And in the cytoplasm, there may be these histone granules. Okay? And if there are, then you have a granulocyte. You can also identify these white blood cells by their nuclear structure. Okay, we'll get to that. We have 3 types of granulocytes: neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. These 3 all end with the suffix "phil," which means to love or to be attracted to. Okay. Neutrophils happen to be attracted to neutral dyes, eosinophils to acidic dyes, and basophils to basic dyes. That's where the names come from. Nothing special about that. Okay. The neutrophils are multi-lobed. The nucleus is multi-lobed, 3 or more beads on a string in appearance. They act primarily as defense against bacterial infection. They are our number 1, really, defense against bacterial infection. When I want to show you a neutrophil, here's one right here. 3 or more lobes. This one has 4. The eosinophil has a bilobe nucleus. The eosinophils combat parasites such as worms in the blood. Okay. Well, you think we live in a third world country or something? We're going to get worms in your blood? Do your pets get worms? Yes, they do. Do people get worms? Yes, they do. Do kids especially get worms? Yes, if they like to make mud pies and then they eat them. Okay. Well, Whether we need these or not, we've got them. Eosinophils, bilobe nucleus. Okay, so let's go down and find one. Here it is right here. 2 lobes to the nucleus. Now, if I'm looking at it from this angle, it's definitely 2 lobes. But if that thing had spun with the top towards me, it would look like a set of barbells or dumbbells, I should say. And if it had spun such that this side over here came in front of me, then this lobe would eclipse this lobe, and I would just see one nucleus or one nuclear area. What I'm trying to say is when you're a phlebotomist one of these days, somebody's going to be, you're going to have to know how not to be tricked by these guys because of their orientation. Our pictures for the exam will be perfect, straight on, in this case, bilobe. The eosinophil combating larger parasites like worms. The basophil, I do not have a picture of, they're rare. And they have 2 smaller lobes at each end and a larger lobe between them. It's sort of like if you think of a snake. The tail, swell it up. The head, swell it up. And then the midsection, much bigger, like it swallowed a little pig or something. That would be a basophil. And these are our reaction to antigens that come to the body. Pollen, for instance, things that cause what we call in general hay fever. The basophils release material to combat this. But unfortunately, from this rarest of white blood cells, the basophils release allergens, combat allergens with their own histone defense, and a lot of it. And it can make us even more miserable than we would be if we were just left alone. That's the nature of it. I don't have a picture of the basophil. I've tried to select a good one from the internet, but there are so many different shapes. You won't be asked about the basophil. Agranulocytes do not have the histone granules. Okay. They do not have cytoplasmic granules. They're the monocytes and the lymphocytes. Monocytes are the largest of the white blood cells. They have a single large nucleus. It does have a small bit of cytoplasm, but it's like a spot on Mars. If Mars revolves or turns away so that you can't see the spot, you don't get to see the spot. And on the monocyte, you may not be able to get to see the cytoplasm if you're looking at it from an angle from which it's unavailable. Monocytes usually abound when you have a recurring disease. Recurring, I should probably use the better word, chronic disease. Okay, in a chronic disease such as tuberculosis or malaria. Here's the monocyte here. Compare the size from here to here, because this one you do get to see the cytoplasm. Compare the size to a red blood cell. Much bigger. The lymphocytes smallest of the white blood cells, and they have a cytoplasm almost completely filled with nuclear area. In other words, you don't get to see much clear area around this nucleus. Here it is. And notice that compared to the monocyte, it's just only slightly bigger or even the same size as the red blood cell. The monocyte's the large one. This is the cleanup cell. The lymphocyte is the cleanup cell that goes after anything and everything. It's also capable of diapedesis, that is, cell walking. It can squeeze in and out of the circulatory system, and it can move into the lymphatic system, where it can congregate in lymph nodes. Dead red blood cells also digested in part by the lymphocytes.
Is it bad when they congregate in the lymph nodes?
No, they're always there. Okay, they're always there. But when they're there in larger numbers, well, you may think this is bad, but it means you probably have an infection that they're trying to combat. What we don't want, of course, is a cancerous cell getting into the lymph nodes or lymphatic system and then traveling throughout the body and reestablishing the disease throughout the body. No, it's not bad. I didn't like having mumps when I was a kid. I don't know if you guys had mumps, but swollen glands, especially around the ear, pretty typical. Thrombocytes. Well, this is C. C what? What was A? A, back up. Red blood cells, white blood cells. These are formed elements. So now we come down to C, and the thrombocytes, or platelets, are formed elements. They're cellular fragments. They contain fibrinogen. Fibrinogen can become fibrin under the right circumstances, those being primarily exposure to air, okay, or any sort of trauma, and we get fibrinogen, which is the clotting agent. In order to form a clot, you need the fibrin to be formed from fibrinogen, but you also need the platelets. Non-formed elements. Okay, non-formed elements. This means this is the fluid part of the blood. Nothing observable by a microscope in this if it's separated. We have two types of non-formed elements. First, the plasma. I think we talked about this last time. But when the blood is pressed, okay, the plasma might be pushed through the capillary, especially in the glomerulus. The plasma is the fluid portion of the blood. All formed elements have been removed, but it still has fibrinogen. That's important. It's still able to clot. This is the fluid portion of the blood. The fact that it can clot means maybe we don't want to use it as freely for transfusions. Well, we have to because it's the most available, okay? And we can use clotting agents at the same time. to stop that from happening. But we can also take plasma and get rid of the fibrinogen through centrifugation. And if you get rid of the fibrinogen, well, then you don't have the ability to clot. So you still have plasma minus the fibrinogen, and that's called serum. This is the fluid part of the blood when all formed elements and fibrinogen have been removed. It can be stored the longest. Most of the blood that's taken with the intent of possibly using it for transfusion, most of the blood is wasted. It's just a necessary evil. If we don't need it, great. But unfortunately, that the blood we collected in preparation is going to be wasted. Okay. So we've got to have a constant supply of this on hand.
Charlie, I have a question.
Yes.
When someone takes blood thinners, does that take out the fibrinogen out of the platelet, or does it just make the platelet smaller?
It doesn't take the fibrinogen out at all. I take blood thinners. I don't take that. What is it, warfarin or anything like that? Just take a huge dose of aspirin, and it tends to make the ability of the platelets to coalesce, okay, much more difficult. Okay, and then of course that means you're going to bleed when you shave or anything else, but not for long.
Okay, thank you.
Some different types of circulation. We haven't gone over all of these yet. We just started systemic circulation, where we go from the heart, aorta, artery, arterial, capillary, and then back through the venular vein. And that will go to a vena cava. Didn't mention that. And the two vena cava return blood to the heart. Okay, we'll be seeing all of that in the chambers in just a moment. Pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation is from the heart to the lungs and back. Heart, the pulmonary trunk. Don't worry if you don't know what the pulmonary trunk looks like yet. It's all here. Okay. Lungs, back through the pulmonary veins. So coming back through the pulmonary veins, that's going to be oxygenated blood coming from the lungs. Veins come towards the heart. Here it is. It does not matter again whether the blood is oxygenated or not. Fetal circulation, which is going to be part of the third practicum. We'll be going over that soon. It's a circulatory pathway in the fetus. And the wonderful hepatic portal system, people see that, they think, oh no, what is that? It's not hard at all. Okay. This takes material absorbed from the small intestine, takes it by way of the hepatic portal vein to the liver for detoxification or the once over. And from there to the inferior vena cava. And once you get in the inferior vena cava, you aren't going anywhere but the heart. Yes.
Along the back of the body.
All I heard was back of the body.
Sorry, is the vena cava along the back of the body?
Yes, it is. Okay. Okay. The next thing on here, this just takes a second. is a list of heart structures. These are structures you're going to be shown in the lab portion, and you're going to be expected to know these. That's it. It's not like the muscles. I'm just taking a look here. Oh, by the way, for everybody, the lecture on 3-4 is posted now. Okay, but I realized why it didn't get posted. I was concerned about it. It'll pop up when you do the recording for 3-4. It'll pop up and say, when my browser anyway, Firefox, can't display this, you know, that I need to put it into another browser. And then it's got a little thing to click to put it in another browser. Well, at first I thought, oh my God, dead end, dead end. And then I just clicked it, and there you go. It works. Okay. I'll try to get rid of that message, but don't let that message put you off. Okay. No, I don't want to show you that today. That's a true PowerPoint that somebody put together, and I hate them. I'm sorry. So I'm skipping the heart lecture. Don't really have time to do the whole thing anyway. I'm going to do some heart models. This is the sheep heart, and what it's showing you in this longitude frontal section, I'm sorry, is a chamber, a chamber, a chamber up here, and a small chamber over here. 4 chambers in the heart. When you look at this, look for the largest chamber. That'll be on your left side, or the specimen's left side. This is the left ventricle. This is the right ventricle. Above it would be the right atrium. And up here, the left atrium. The 3 tissue layers. You have an outer layer to the heart. This is the visceral pericardium, also known as the epicardium, which is an acceptable term. I'd let you use either one. Unfortunately, on multiple choice, you can't have both answers there at the same time. So visceral pericardium or the epicardium. The muscle layer here, here, and here is the myocardium. Makes sense. Heart muscle. Between the ventricles, here's the right one, here's the left one. Between the ventricles is the IV septum, interventricular septum. Nobody writes it out. People always say IV septum, but it's composed of myocardium. everything inside of the heart, that if you were passing instead of blood, you were passing ink through the heart, and it would stain everything. Everything that would be stained is endocardium. Anything where the blood touches, including this muscle here, which we'll name later on as papillary muscle. Don't worry about it until I actually get to it. Okay. These little cords, which hold the valve shut, chordae tendineae, don't worry about it. It's just that the more times you hear something, it eventually sinks in. This is the same picture. Shows the right atrium, labeled this time. The valve from the right atrium is here, going to the right ventricle. The valve is called the tricuspid valve. It has three parts which push away when the right atrium expels its blood into the right ventricle. The right ventricle then contracts. And this doesn't show it, but it will go up by means of a vessel to the lungs. When it contracts, when the right ventricle contracts, pushes shut, blood can't go back through the tricuspid valve because of these little cords will hold the valve shut, like these larger cords on the other side hold the valve shut over there. Instead, the blood must go towards the lungs. We have the IV septum, and if somebody did write it all the way out. Okay. Here's the apex of the heart. Here's our left ventricle again. Here's a cusp of the valve separating the left atrium from the left ventricle. The blood is in the left ventricle, having returned from the lungs. It's going to push upward, go through, and want to come back down, but it won't be able to because of these cords. This is the mitral valve. I've heard it's pronounced mitral valve as well. The term bicuspid valve is also quasi-correct. Usually not used once you get past high school. Here are those cords. These are the chordae tendineae. They attach to the valve cusp, in this case to the mitral valve, the larger one, because this is the left-hand side. The chordae tendineae, the blood comes in, and when the ventricle contracts, the blood wants out, it'll have to go this way. It goes
Excuse
into
me,
the
Charlie.
aorta. Yes.
What plane is this cut?
This is a sagittal section, but it's not mid-sagittal. It's not right through the middle of the heart. It's a little bit towards you. Here's the
Okay.
base of the heart. Actually, the apex of the heart down here. Okay. Here's the right side. Here's the left side.
All right. Thank
Okay. Trust me, if you, a lot of people say, okay, once you answer a question. And I sometimes feel that, no, they're really not okay with it. You will be okay with this. I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried for you. You're going to see so much of this. Okay, there's the muscle here in the ventricle, in the wall. The chordae tendineae attached to this papillary muscle. And at the other end, the chordae tendineae attached to the valve cusp. I'm not using the word cusp here, but valve is good enough. Chordae tendineae, you find those, you can't miss them. One end attaches to the valve cusp, and the other end to the papillary muscles. There will be more than one papillary muscle, but in a single cut, you're not apt to see all of them. Down here, where it looks like very ancient tree roots, this indentation or pocketing allows the heart to expand without splitting. This is called the trabeculae carneae. The trabeculae carneae means meaty hollows. Meaty hollows. Here's the IV septum again. Here's the right ventricle. Here's some myocardium, as is this, as is this. All of this in here is endocardium. And the visceral pericardium is the outer lining, also known as the epicardium. Okay, I think I'll do this one, and I think I've made a good indentation for this, because you're going to probably lapse back now, and I mean that in a good way, to studying the muscles. Okay. So here we go with the model of the heart that shows most things. It's missing one or two things that we need from another model we'll get later. Okay, here's a vena cava coming down here. This is the superior vena cava. The inferior vena cava, that one unfortunately doesn't show. It's down here, and it enters into this chamber. The chamber is the right atrium. It has attached to it a pocket or pouch called the auricle of the right atrium. This thing is able to engorge with more blood if the heart is beating faster. Otherwise, it just waits its turn. Most of the blood is in the right atrium. And then it passes through this valve. The valve is the tricuspid valve. It has 1, 2, 3 parts. We see 3 sets of chordae tendineae. The blood enters then into this chamber, and this chamber is the right ventricle. When the right ventricle contracts, blood tries to get out, but it can't get out this way here because the cusps of the tricuspid valve clamp shut, and they're held in position by the chordae tendineae. So the blood doesn't have that route to escape. Instead, it goes up through here. And this is the pulmonary trunk. It splits into 2 pulmonary arteries. There's one. The other goes underneath the arch. Pulmonary arteries going to the lungs. When the ventricle, the right ventricle, finishes contracting and relaxes, the blood would come back down. That can't accomplish anything. So once the blood passes these structures here, These are sacs. They're pushed out of the way. Now the pulmonary trunk is engorged. It's an elastic artery, and it's going to try to push the blood back out. It can't, because the sacs are like upside down parachutes, and they capture the blood. And that is held there at this end. At the other end, the blood is pushed to the lungs. If you've got pressure here of blood, it's going to try to relieve itself in all directions. It can get out this way to the lungs, but it can't come back this way. When the blood does come back from the lungs, it doesn't come back to the right side of the heart. It comes back to the left atrium. Here is a pulmonary vein coming from the heart, lung. Here's a pulmonary vein. Here's a pulmonary vein. And the fourth one doesn't show from this angle. But the blood, which is oxygenated, comes in through the pulmonary veins. When this when this atrium contracts, it'll be at the same time that the right atrium contracts. These both contract and blood flows to the bottom part of the heart. In this case, it goes through this valve, and this valve is the mitral valve into the left ventricle. When the left ventricle, which is the largest ventricle of the heart, and it doesn't appear that way in this model, okay, when the ventricle on the left side contracts, it exits where I have the pointer and goes into the aorta. Same picture. Well, if you're wondering what I'm looking for, it's the aortic semilunar valve right here. This is pointing, telling you where it is. This is the left ventricle. The blood leaves through the aortic semilunar valve and enters into the aorta. A lot more terms in here, but we'll review the ones we just did and add to them the rest. I think most people have very little difficulty with the heart. Okay. In studying, the only thing I want to remind you is that I did pull some of the information for the muscles down into week 8. Okay. So this would be fair material for the practicum as well. Okay. Some of it I duplicated, some of it is down there. I'm waiting for you. Okay, okay. Any thoughts or questions? When's the practicum?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Right. Not this Thursday. Okay. The one after. Okay. When's the bonus quiz?
This Thursday.
This Thursday.
This Thursday. And if you haven't done the practice quiz for module 7, you can take the bonus quiz, but you get no points for it. So please get that done. The 15 people that earlier have had it done, don't worry. I have you listed down. Okay. 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 If you don't have any more questions, that's all as far as I'm going to take you today.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Charlie,
Yes.
so the practicum next Thursday is going to be all of those muscles we've been reviewing, and then it's also going to be like the GI, digestive, urinary, respiratory stuff.
No.
Everything we've done the last few
No,
weeks, or just muscles?
that was designated lecture material. When it says lecture, that's not for this practicum. When it says lab, it is. Okay.
Okay.
I on Thursday I will go over everything again with everybody. Hopefully, by that time everybody will know, but they should. It's the most important thing is the muscle list, the human muscle list. Okay.
Okay.
There are going to be cats on there too, but the origins, insertions, and actions are the same for both lists.
Okay. So the practicum is just going to be muscles, humans, and cats.
It's going to be muscles, but I don't want to lead you into thinking it's always name this muscle. Okay. It may be what type of muscle is this, and you see it under the scope. In other words, I have a picture of the 3 types of muscle again: cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, smooth muscle. And I may ask you which one you got there, but that's a few questions. Most of the questions are exactly as we talked about off of the list. That list goes up to what, about 74, and I have to fix number 71.
Okay. I don't know why, for some reason, I thought that the practical we're having is going to be the muscles plus pictures of the other stuff we've been doing, like the digestive tract and the urinary and the respiratory stuff.
No, it's just that it overlaps. We have 4 sections, 4 units. The muscles is unit 2, but we've got 25 chapters in the book, so they're going to overlap each other. Okay.
Okay, perfect. That's just all I wanted to clarify, that it's just muscles and not the other stuff we've been talking about.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.